Shalom lekulam. This week we witnessed a split among rabbis in the national religious camp. Rav Rabinovich, Rav Medan, Rav Riskin among them, Rav Stav, Rav Rema Kohen and others decided to establish independent courts of Giur, independent conversion courts, separate from the chief rabbin of Israel in order to try to tackle the problem of approximately 400,000 non-Jews who have become citizens of the state of Israel over the last couple of decades under the law of return. Anyone who has one Jewish grandparent, paternal or maternal, or is married to or is somehow otherwise related to someone who does have one Jewish grandparent is authorized, is eligible under the law of return to come and make aliyah to the state of Israel. And they have done so and become full members of Israeli society, speaking Hebrew, celebrating our holidays, going to the army, contributing to society in the full sense. But they are not Jewish according to halakha, which demands that in order for someone to be a member of the Jewish people, they must either have a Jewish mother or have undergone an authentic, official, recognized Giur conversion into the Jewish people. And this group of rabbis has decided, after being frustrated for some time with the actions of the chief rabbinate, to establish separate independent conversion courts to try and tackle this issue. And what they claim is that what they would like to do is they would like to convert minors of non-Jewish mothers, convert them officially, halachically, to the Jewish people, to Judaism, even if they do not perform and commit to the 613 commandments of that halakha demands. And this way they see that they will be fighting assimilation, that these people will be accepted as full members of Israeli society. They're already loyal to the nation of Israel. They have no other identity. And they say we can no longer ignore this problem because our children will be going to the army, going to university, learning with these people who are fully Israeli, fully speaking Hebrew, fully a part of society, and are not Jewish, and this will cause assimilation within the Jewish state. And so this is their solution to try and alleviate this problem. And those who are against, we could say the more Haredi or Chardal aspects of, or more conservative, particularist aspects of the religious world, they point out, and rightfully so, that admits to the people of Israel has always entailed the acceptance, at least the acceptance of commitment to performing the 613 commandments. And in the situation at hand, that's simply not the case. Those people who will be joining the Jewish people in a full sense, will be undergoing this conversion, will not, they claim, really truly be accepting the Torah obligations of 630 commandments that are that the Jewish people is obliged to. And they claim we cannot play with the rules of the Jewish people. This in itself will cause assimilation if we bring in a large number of non-Jews into the Jewish nation who are not committed to the obligations of the Jewish people. This in itself will dilute our identity. This in itself will cause a break within the Jewish people. This in itself will cause injury to those Gerei Tzedek, those righteous converts who would like to join the Jewish people in a full sense. It will cheapen their action, and for all of these reasons they oppose, in addition to obviously the stance that says that it is illegitimate to make rabbinic courts outside of the chief rabbin of Israel, but in an essential way, that this action violates Jewish tradition, and that is their argument. Okay, now I would like to offer a new perspective on this issue. The fundamental assumption of both sides, if we look at it carefully, is that you are either a Jew and you're with us, or you're a Gentile and you're on the outside. And that is exactly the conception of the Jewish people throughout the last 2,000 years, when we have lived as a community, as a minority among the majority, in ghettos, in the shtetl, in small communities throughout North Africa, Europe, Asia, where the other has power and we are a small minority living among them. Indeed, there were basically two categories of human beings. You are either a Jew and you're with us, or you're a Gentile and you're on the outside. And of course, there were Gentiles who joined the Jewish people, sometimes more, sometimes less, but they joined in a full sense. And there of course, were Jews who left the Jewish people, even though halachically it's a difficult thing to do, but factually it is so. There are Jews who left the Jewish people. But the main fundamental assumption was that there were two categories. You're a Jew and you're with us, you're on our side, or you're a Gentile and you're on the outside. And my claim would be that fundamental assumption is no longer relevant because it's the fundamental assumption of 2,000 years of exile. But if we look back before 2,000 years, if we look back to the time when Jewish civilization was a majority in its land, had sovereignty, had political power, we find that there were different categories of thought, different fundamental assumptions. Not only you were a Jew with us or a Gentile and outside of our society, but just as we have within Jewish tradition today, different categories of people with different obligations and with different rights and with different privileges. We have Kohanim, we have Levi'im, we have Israel. Each of these has different rights and different obligations. So too, when we had majority, we were a Jewish majority, and we had political independence in our land, we had non-Jews who were joining Jewish society in a full sense, as equal members of Jewish society, but not as Jews. And this is something remarkable. This is something we've forgotten. This is something that perhaps the time has come to try to reevaluate and renew. That would be my suggestion. And now let's look at that issue for a moment. What happened before 2,000 years ago, before we lost political sovereignty, before we lost political power, before we ceased to be a majority? There were non-Jews who were connected in the fullest sense to the Jewish nation as non-Jews. And the most prominent examples, for example, are the Kenites or Yael, who defeated Sisera in the book of Judges and Shoftim. And we have instances of non-Jews who coming to the Beit HaMikdash. We have instances of non-Jews being in the Jewish army. And what I think is essential here for us to understand is that the Torah, Jewish tradition, has two, what we could call, pathways. There's one pathway for the Jewish people themselves, who is meant to be a Mamlechet Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh, a nation of priests and a holy nation. And in order to be a part of that system, one must accept the 613 commandments. But not every human being is expected to join that system. They can be fully be doing what the Torah demands of them from outside, by accepting the minimum of 7 commandments of the children of Noach, Sheva Mitzvot Bnei Noach. They have a place of honor, respect within Jewish society. They are full members of the Israelite nation in the wider sense, and they are full members of society, but they're not obligated to perform the 613 commandments. So, lo and behold, de facto, this is what we have today. 400,000 non-Jews living in the state of Israel, speaking Hebrew, celebrating our holidays, living among us, contributing to society in the best sense possible, feeling a part of the history and the future of the Jewish nation. But they are not obligated by halakha to the 613 commandments, and it's time we start to legitimize that position, and this might be the place where we stop. So in my humble opinion, let's look again at the claims of the sides. The claim of the more liberal universal rabbis who wanted to break away and convert minors to make them into Jews. They claim we cannot ignore the problem of 400,000 non-Jews living in our midst. They're right, but I don't think that the answer is to convert them. And the other side who says, wait, but we cannot convert them because if we convert them, we are violating the guidelines of Jewish identity as it has been known for 2,000 years. We'll be watering down our identity. We'll be causing assimilation from the inside. And that's just as bad. And they're also right. So what is the solution? I think that there's a new perspective that we have to start to adopt. And with that, we have to move forward. What we can and should be doing is taking responsibility for those 400,000 non-Jews living in Israeli society, understanding that they can be full members, equal members of the state of Israel, of the Jewish nation, as non-Jews, teaching them the minimum of the 7 commandments of Bnei Noach, teaching them the essence of the Torah, exposing them to real ideas of emunah, of Torah, of Jewish history, opening them up to a larger picture, opening up Israeli society to accepting them. And yes, once someone understands these things, they will have the real ability to make a decision if it's appropriate for him or not, or her or not, to join the Jewish nation in the fullest sense of becoming a Ger Tzedek and adopting the 630 commandments. That's the first step we should be taking. That's what we should be teaching the children of these non-Jews living here. And by teaching them that, we'll be teaching ourselves, and they'll be teaching us as well. And that is the way to fight assimilation, strengthening Jewish identity, and taking responsibility for the non-Jews living in our midst. Toda rabba lekulam.